Aitah for not telling my family that I found out my dad isn't my dad. When I spat into that stupid little plastic tube, I didn't think I was detonating a bomb. It was supposed to be fun. A Christmas gift from my boyfriend. A Find Your Roots DNA test. He got his results back first. 48% Irish, 22% Scandinavian, 30% something else. He laughed, called himself a Viking. Mine came 3 days later. And I swear, it felt like someone reached through the screen and pulled the floor out from under me, because my dad wasn't listed anywhere. Instead, there was a match labeled parent, child to 50% DNA shared. The name didn't belong to my father. It belonged to a man I'd never even heard of. At first, I thought it was a glitch, some mix-up in the database. But curiosity, that fatal human impulse, wouldn't let me stop. I looked deeper. The man's last name was Barton. He lived 2 towns away, and when I clicked on his profile picture, my own face looked back at me. I didn't sleep that night. I kept opening the app, comparing photos, piecing together the fragments like some insane detective. My mother must have known. She had to have known, because the timeline didn't make sense otherwise. My parents have been married for 32 years. I'm 26. I was born about a year after my dad had a work separation. Something had mentioned once, vaguely, like a closed chapter. The more I thought about it, the more everything started feeling off. The way my mom always shut down when people mentioned those years. How my dad would sometimes say, "You've got your mother's eyes," in this quiet, sad way, like he was reminding himself of something. I didn't tell anyone. Not at first. I just watched. We had dinner the next night, my parents, my younger brother, and me. My dad was laughing at some dumb story my brother told, and I couldn't look at him. Not because I didn't love him. God, I did. But because I didn't know what him even meant anymore. Every time he said sweetheart, every time he smiled at me, there was this echo in my head. Has not your dad. He doesn't know. Or maybe he does. Maybe you're the only one who doesn't. 2 weeks passed before I decided to find the man from the app, David Barton. It felt like stepping into a bad movie. I found him on Facebook, then on LinkedIn, then finally at a local photography studio. Apparently, he was a portrait photographer. His page was full of family photos. 2 daughters, a wife. One of his daughters had the same nose as me. The same stupid mole near the corner of her mouth. I almost messaged him, but I didn't, because what would I even say? Hey, you might be my biological father, but don't worry, I'm not here to ruin your life. A month went by, and the secret started rotting inside me. Every conversation with my mom felt fake. Every hug from my dad hurt. I wanted to scream, to throw the truth at them and watch it shatter their little world. But I didn't, because my dad didn't deserve that. He was there for every scraped knee, every heartbreak, every college move-in and graduation. As the man who taught me to drive, to stand up for myself, to never apologize for taking up space. The man who stayed when, apparently, someone else didn't. So how do you look someone like that in the eye and say, "You're not my father"? Then my mom made everything worse. We were baking together for my brother's birthday when she said it. Just casually, like she was talking about the weather. "Your father and I always knew you were our little miracle." Something in her tone cracked, and I just froze. I wanted to ask her right then, "Who is he? Why didn't you tell me?" But I couldn't, because if I did, the world as I knew it would collapse, and I wasn't sure I could handle the fallout. So here's the thing. I haven't told anyone. Not my mom, not my dad, not my brother. And every time my dad calls me kiddo or sends me some dumb meme he thinks he'll like, it's like twisting a knife. Because I'm lying by omission. I'm pretending to be the daughter he thinks he has. And sometimes I wonder if that makes me the asshole. Because maybe, just maybe, he deserves to know. Maybe my brother deserves to know, too. Maybe my mom deserves to be confronted. But if I tell them, I destroy everything. If I don't, I live with this secret gnawing at me, whispering every time my dad smiles. Has not your blood? I keep asking myself what's kinder, telling the truth, or protecting the illusion that's kept our family whole. And I still don't know the answer. Part 2. The night the truth stopped hiding. It happened on a Wednesday. The kind of night where everything feels to still, like the world is waiting for something to break. Mom was in the kitchen, rinsing dishes. I stood in the hallway for nearly 5 minutes, just watching her, the way she moved, calm, methodical, completely unaware that her carefully built world was about to start cracking. Her hair was tied up the same way it always was when she cleaned, a loose bun, a few strands falling down her neck. For a second I thought about turning around, pretending I hadn't come downstairs at all. But then she hummed the same old tune she used to sing when I was little, and something inside me snapped. "Mom," I said, my voice quieter than I intended. She turned, smiling like always. "Hey, sweetheart, couldn't sleep?" I shook my head. "No, I need to talk to you." Something in my tone must have told her it wasn't casual. The way her smile faltered, the way she turned off the faucet but didn't meet my eyes. "About what?" I took a breath so deep it felt like drowning. "About Dad and me." The silence that followed wasn't just silence. It was a vacuum, a sudden, total absence of sound. Her hands froze on the dish towel, and then, barely above a whisper, she said, "Oh." That one word said everything. I didn't even have to ask, but I did anyway, because I needed to hear it. "Who is David Barton?" She closed her eyes. The dish towel dropped to the floor. Her hands began to shake. "Oh my God," she whispered. "You know." "Yeah," I said, my voice breaking. "I know." She sat down at the table, her posture collapsing in on itself, like all the air had been sucked out of her. I stayed standing, arms crossed, because if I didn't hold myself that way, I might have fallen apart too. "How long?" I asked. "Since when did you plan on telling me that the man who raised me isn't?" "Don't say that," she interrupted, almost pleading. "He's your father, not biologically." She looked up at me then, eyes red, full of something that wasn't quite guilt. It was fear. "I never meant for you to find out like this," she said softly. "It was supposed to stay in the past." "In the past?" I laughed bitterly. "You lied to me my entire life, and it's just a past mistake." She didn't answer. She just stared at her hands, twisting the edge of her sleeve. "Finally," she said it. "I was 27. Your father and I were separated. We didn't think we'd get back together. I didn't move. I met David at a photography exhibit in town," she continued. "It was short. It wasn't love, it was an affair." I said sharply. She winced. "It wasn't supposed to mean anything. But then I found out I was pregnant. And your father didn't know?" She hesitated. Then she nodded. "No," she whispered. "He doesn't know. He never did." I felt something cold crawl up my spine. All these years, my dad had loved me, raised me, without knowing I wasn't his. "How could you do that to him?" I asked. Tears welled up in her eyes. "Because he had already lost so much. We'd been trying for a baby for years. He thought he couldn't." She stopped, bit her lip, looked away. "When I found out I was pregnant," she said, "he cried. He said it was a miracle. He told everyone God had finally blessed us." She wiped her eyes. "And I couldn't take that away from him." I sank into the chair across from her, numb. Part of me wanted to scream. Another part just felt sorry for her. She looked so small. Smaller than I'd ever seen her. "So you just let him bully you," I said quietly. "For 26 years. I didn't think it mattered anymore," she whispered. "He's your father. Has the one who stayed. Has the one who loved you every single day of your life." "I know that," I said. My voice cracked. "But you didn't give him a choice." She flinched. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the faint hum of the refrigerator, and the quiet chattering of something between us that couldn't be fixed. "Does he deserve to know?" I finally asked. She looked up, startled. "What, Dad? Does he deserve to know the truth?" She shook her head so fast it made me dizzy. "No. No. It would destroy him." "Please, Mom." I leaned forward. "Has lived his whole life believing a lie. Don't you think he has a right to decide what to do with that?" Her voice broke. "I can't lose him." I wanted to say "you already did," but the words caught in my throat. The clock ticked softly behind us. The kitchen light flickered once, like even the house was holding its breath. "Finally," she whispered, "please, don't tell him." "Not yet." "Then when?" I asked. "When he's on his deathbed. When it's too late for him to even ask why." She didn't answer. She just sat there, sobbing quietly, shoulders shaking. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. Not exactly. I was tired. Tired of carrying her secret. Tired of protecting everyone but myself. I stood up. "I won't tell him," I said softly. She looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "But," I added, "I won't lie for you anymore either." Her face fell. "Meaning?" "Meaning if he ever asks me. I won't hide it. I won't pretend." She stared at me for a long time, then nodded slowly, like she knew the price of what she'd done had finally come due. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my dad, the man who raised me, loved me, never missed a single recital or report card, the man who believed I was his miracle. And I realized something I hadn't before. He was my father, not because of DNA, but because of everything else. Still, I couldn't shake the guilt that I now held a truth he didn't, a truth that could shatter him, but keeping it meant shattering myself. Weeks have passed since then. I haven't told him, but every time I look at him now, when he laughs, when he hugs me, I feel it, that invisible wall between us, the secret humming underneath every word we say. Sometimes I think he knows, that deep down, maybe has always known. Because lately, when he looks at me, there's this softness in his eyes, the kind that says, I don't need to be told. I've always loved you anyway. Part 3. The secret that refused to die. It happened 3 months later. A phone call. 2:47 a.m. The kind of hour that only brings bad news. When I saw my brother's name flash across the screen, my heart sank before I even answered. Mom's in the hospital, he said. Chest pains. They think it's her heart. I was out of bed before I even hung up. The drive was a blur. Wet streets, red lights that felt too long. The radio playing something faint and hollow, a love song that didn't belong to me anymore. When I reached the hospital, my dad was already there. He was sitting in one of those plastic chairs outside her room, hands clasped together, eyes red. He looked older, like the years had suddenly caught up to him all at once. She's stable, he said quietly when he saw me. They're keeping her overnight. Then he smiled faintly, the kind of fragile smile people make when they're holding themselves together, with nothing but willpower. She'll be okay. I nodded, though I didn't trust my voice enough to speak. Hours passed. Machines beeped softly from inside the room. My brother fell asleep in a chair, his head on his arms. My dad dozed off, too, holding Mom's hand like if he let go, she might vanish. And I just sat there, staring at the white hospital walls, thinking about every lie that had led us here. The truth had become a living thing, breathing, growing, waiting. And I knew that if she didn't make it, that truth would die with her. But if she did, I wasn't sure I could keep it in any longer. Morning came slowly. The sky turned from black to gray to pale gold. Mom woke up around 8. Her first words were weak but clear. Is everyone here? My dad squeezed her hand. We never left. She smiled faintly, eyes full of tears. And when she looked at me, something passed between us, an understanding. She knew I was done keeping her secret. A few days later, she was discharged. We ate dinner together, her, Dad, my brother, and me. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Mom joked about the hospital food, my brother complained about work, Dad talked about his garden. But under it all, there was this quiet tension, the unspoken truth pulsing between every laugh. Then it happened. Dad turned to me, smiled, and said, You've always been my miracle girl, you know that? And I don't know what broke in me. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe guilt, maybe years of silence finally giving way. But I put down my fork and said, Dad, we need to talk. The room went still. Even the air seemed to freeze. Mom's face drained of color instantly. Sweetheart, she whispered, please, but it was too late. I couldn't carry it anymore. I looked straight at him. There's something you need to know. He frowned slightly. What is it? It's about me, I said. About you. About how we're related. He looked confused at first. Then his eyes flickered, to Mom, then back to me. Related? He repeated. Sweetheart, what are you talking about? I felt my throat tighten, but I forced the words out. I took a DNA test. That was all it took. Just that one sentence, and everything changed. Mom was crying before I even finished. Please, she whispered, don't do this. Dad looked at her, his expression slowly shifting. Confusion, disbelief, and then understanding. Realization dawning like a storm breaking open. He turned back to me, voice quiet but sharp. What did it say? I hesitated. Then I said it. That you're not my biological father. For a moment, no one moved. No one breathed. Then he laughed, this small, disbelieving sound that was somehow sadder than crying. That's ridiculous, he said. That's a mistake. Those tests aren't, Dad, I said softly. It's true. He looked at Mom again. And that's when I saw it. The flicker of guilt in her eyes. The one thing she couldn't hide. He froze, and then he whispered, tell me she's lying. But she didn't. She just started to sob, and that was enough. He pushed back his chair so hard it scraped the floor. The sound was deafening in the silence. How long? He asked. His voice wasn't angry. It was hollow. How long have you been lying to me, Claire? She couldn't speak, so he asked again. louder this time. How long? Since before she was born, she whispered finally. The silence that followed was unbearable. It wasn't shouting, it wasn't chaos. It was worse. It was the sound of something sacred breaking quietly. He stood there, looking at both of us, his breathing unsteady. And then, softly, almost to himself, he said, "I thought she was mine." "She is yours," Mom whispered through tears. "You're her father in every way that matters." He shook his head slowly. "Every way except the truth." Then he turned to me. "Did you know long?" I swallowed hard. "A few months." He nodded, not in anger, but in resignation, like he had expected that answer all along. He didn't say anything else. He just walked out, grabbed his coat, his keys, and left. The front door clicked shut, and that was it. 32 years of marriage, 26 years of family, gone in one sound. Mom fell apart that night. She sat on the kitchen floor, sobbing into her hands. My brother kept asking, what the hell just happened? And I just stood there, numb, because I'd done what I thought was right, told the truth. But the truth had teeth, and it bit through everything I loved. For days, we didn't hear from him. Then one afternoon, he showed up at my apartment. He looked tired, older somehow, like he hadn't slept. I didn't know what to say, but he did. "I'm not angry at you," he said quietly. "You didn't ask for this." I started crying immediately. "I'm sorry." He shook his head. "No, you did the right thing." Then he smiled, a small, broken smile, and said, "I raised you. I watched you grow up. Nothing changes that. You'll always be my kid." I hugged him then, and in that moment, I understood something I'd been too blind to see before. Blood isn't what makes someone a father. Truth isn't always kind. And sometimes love survives even the worst betrayals, but it never comes out the same. It's quieter, sadder, but somehow more real. Mom and Dad never got back together. They talk sometimes, polite, careful conversations about my brother, about the past. But it's different now. I visit them both separately. And sometimes when I hug my dad goodbye, he still calls me kiddo, and I still tear up every time, because he means it. Even knowing everything, he means it. Some nights, I still wonder if I did the right thing, if silence would have hurt less, if ignorance really is mercy. But then I remember his words, "You'll always be my kid," and I think maybe the truth didn't destroy us. Maybe it just showed us who we really were all along.